Today on Locked On Canadiens, it's the mailbag. We're giving you our players who are potentially underappreciated. We're looking at some wingers who are trying to learn faceoffs, and we take a look at some of your trade proposals.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into episode 1359 of Locked On Canadiens. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day and for subscribing wherever you get your podcast. Doing that ensures you don't miss an episode, and it supports us here at the show. My name is Ian Boisvert, also known as @MaybeIt'sIan. I'm joined, as I always am, by Laura Saba, also known as the Actor Stick. Laura, mailbag, our listeners, once again, did not disappoint us. We have a lot to get through, but how are you feeling at the end of this week?
Honestly, I'm just really excited about all these questions we're going to tackle. Like a lot of the time in the summer, it's hard to come up with topics, but our listeners are always there for us and they come up with really interesting and sometimes unhinged mailbag questions. And we're here for all of them. Send us all of them. We love it. No matter how crazy it is, we will try and tackle it for you.
Yes, we will do our very best. And let's not waste any more time. Let's get started because we have a lot, including a couple from our pal Randy on Bluesky. The first one here, who needs to get more love and credit for all they do? Do you have an answer for this one? Canadians or otherwise?
I think like this is kind of like an unsung hero thing, but over the course of this season, if we're going to go with the Canadians, I think that everybody's kind of gotten their flowers, right? Like we tried our best. And yes, Josh Anderson was kind of unsung in the regular season, but then he was extremely sung, especially against Tom Wilson. So I feel like it's hard with the Montreal Canadiens to think of that. But I do think that I wanna praise Samuel Montembeault just because
That was mine.
I stole it. I'm sorry.
I'm so glad though because he does. Yes,
Yeah.
go for it because he absolutely does deserve it.
Yes, because he had a couple bad games and then everyone was like, this guy's just not a good goalie. And that's like nothing could be further from the truth, right? I think he recovered really well over the course of the season. If you look at his body of work, like he did what the Canadians needed him to do. They all did their jobs, and so did he. He had one job and he did it.
Sam Montembeault is the perfect starting goalie for this version of the Canadiens. And I think that to me is why, we rip on him sometimes because, the long shots thing was definitely a thing this year. Statistically, it was a problem. But like, that is a Montreal Canadian through and through. Like that. And he had his best season statistically as an NHLer. We talked about it at the beginning of this week. I went through some milestones and how Sam Montembeault is coming up on a couple of them. So, yeah, he was going to be my pick too. I think we're also focused on Fowler and now Dobish that Sam Montembeault is like, well, what am I, chopped liver? Like, why are you guys forgetting that I'm here? And I think, last season was a way of him saying, hey, I'm still here. And I'd be shocked if he doesn't do that again this year. So those are our people. Real life answer, like postal workers and, everyone's mom. I think that's where we can go with who needs to be appreciated more. So there's that. Let's stick with Randy here. Who do you predict will be the surprise of camp this year? Who's your training camp surprise for the Montreal Canadiens, Laura?
I'm going to go out there.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say it's going to be Philip Machar.
Oh, wow.
High risk, high reward pick.
Yeah, I like it. I remember watching him in camp, maybe not last year, but the first time, but definitely last year too, actually. And just being like, man, that is a small human. And just wondering how he's going to make it work. It'd be cool to see. I still think it's Engstrom. I think Adam Engstrom is going to step into there and really make the defensive conversation difficult. Just watching him play in the AHL in those playoffs was incredible. Like he's very good. Like that's going to be an NHL defenseman. It's just a matter of when. So I'll say that he takes that next step pretty quickly. All right. This one is a pop culture question also from Randy. Which series finale is your favorite? For me, it's 6 Feet Under and MASH are on a different level. Laura, do you have one that stands out to you?
Yes. I like the season finale of The Americans. If you guys have never watched that show, it is incredible. It is really, really good. I will say that even as a huge fan of the show, I tried to binge it all in one go. I couldn't do it. I had to take a break. But it's honestly a phenomenal show. And the finale of that was perfect in my mind. I loved it.
Yeah. First of all, I have to finish 6 Feet Under. I've never finished it. I started watching it. It's very good. So now that I know that the finale is great, I have to get through the end of that. For me, I mentioned this show a lot. It's Futurama. It's probably my favorite show of all time. The finale, the original finale. Now they've come back with new episodes, and it's kind of the original finale years ago. They ended it so perfectly, where essentially they set the whole series up as a time loop.
Yeah.
And after the last episode ended, the network it aired on immediately aired the first episode of the show. So it completed that time loop even after the episode ended. You were still like, oh, now I'm back at the beginning, like they told me I would be. It was very much like that was intentional. If you're watching the finale, even now, you should do that. You should watch the last episode and follow it up with the first one. It just hits a little different. So that's my answer for that one. All right, let's head over to our friend Nat. With Line taking faceoffs in the Leaving Sisu tournament, do you think the Habs have mandated all forwards to concentrate on that skill? Have they decided no new 2C, they'll just cover the deficiency by having everyone able to do it? First of all, have you seen clips from this Living Sisu tournament?
Yes, I have.
Before we answer the question, what are your thoughts on this concept? These guys are just out there in 3-on-3, just crushing it.
I honestly, it's very enjoyable, but I still don't understand it, right? Like, I don't.
Same place as you.
I don't get what it's supposed to be. I don't get what it's trying to be. I don't get what we're supposed to get out of it, but I'm just getting a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, it's a highlight factory. Like,
yeah.
it's we get to see summer highlights of these guys in 3-on-3. Even are the rinks small? Like the rinks look smaller in all of these clips. I didn't, and I couldn't tell if that was just right. I was like, I couldn't tell if it was just perception or if they were actually playing on mini rinks. But yeah, it's just like Laine's clapping one-timers and Demidov is doing silly Demidov things. Like, it's very, very cool. Anyway, let's talk about the face-offs aspect of this, because I think there's some truth to this.
Yes.
That if the Canadiens could find a winger who could win the odd face-off, they'd probably be pretty thrilled with that, right?
Yeah. I just think overall, the Canadiens want everyone to get better at face-offs. I think that that's absolutely legit. The Canadiens are not very strong as a group. They're not very strong on face-offs, so they really do need to work on it as a whole. But as for giving up the idea of the 2C, I don't think so. I know what Jeff Gordon said, that if we can find a play driving winger, that'll be good. I don't think this is hedging their bets. I just think that the Canadiens took a look at their forwards and they're like, these guys really need to get better at face-offs.
Yeah, I think that that's true. And look, the Blue Jackets for a time used Laine as a center.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you very bluntly, it didn't go that great. That's just not who he is. That's not the role that he's going to play at the NHL level. He's never been a center. He's going to be a winger. And with Laine in particular, it doesn't really solve their problem. He's a righty. So, even if he did start winning faceoffs, great. Now you just have another right-handed faceoff guy. This is why I think a lot of people are gravitating towards the idea that, like, hey, maybe Demidov can play center. And I just don't buy into that concept, because just let him learn the NHL game and then we can start figuring out if that's what he's going to do. But for right now, like, it's everyone's looking at Alex Newhook and now Joe Veleno as, you guys have to learn how to do faceoffs, and there's really no other way around it. Yes, Doc being better at them will help as well. But we'll see where that ends up. All right, let's head to one really quickly from Manny before we head to our first break. He's got a couple here, so we'll do the first one and we'll come back to him later. Besides the Bell Center, what are other non-Canadian stadiums that have the best atmosphere for Montreal games? How many games have you seen with the Canadiens outside of the Bell Center?
I can't count, but I can tell you which arenas they were in.
Yeah.
What's Consol Energy called now?
Pittsburgh?
Yes. Pittsburgh.
Yeah, whatever that PPG Arena.
Yeah,
PPG
like Paints. Yes, it's PPG Paints. So, all right, I'll give you the cities: Boston, Washington, Toronto, New York, New York City, not the Islanders. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. I think that's it. Yes, wow. I'm pretty sure that's it. Oh no, Buffalo. We went to one together. You didn't
I was going to say we did that. Yeah,
we did do that. And then I'm trying to think. No, not Columbus. I was like, there's definitely a place that I went because I thought tickets would be cheap. Anyways, all of this to say, the best atmosphere is Boston for Canadiens games. Yes, you have to be careful. They are worse than advertised when you're there and you're a Habs fan. But essentially, just don't start anything, and people will leave you alone. Or don't take the bait. Right? Don't take the bait, because anytime I've heard of any fights breaking out or anything like that, it's because the Montreal Canadiens fan could not take the bait or taunted too much in another person's arena. Another city's arena. But by far, it is the best rivalry, because in Toronto, I think the fans also are really into it. But it's such a corporate environment, especially in the lower bowl, that like I didn't really get that same feeling of rivalry.
Yeah. I've only been to a couple games, a couple different arenas. That is, I've been to both the Nassau Coliseum for the Islanders and their new one at UBS on the island itself. Those were both great. I've been to New Jersey to the Prudential Center to see them. I've seen them up in Buffalo. I have gone to a Bruins game. It was Bruins Leafs game 2, 2019, so a playoff game. I can only imagine what a Canadiens game in there would be if that's what it was like. I mean, this was peak Leafs Bruins, so don't get me wrong. Like, this was nuts.
Yeah.
But it was also Nazem Kadri's last game in Toronto because he beamed Jake DeBrusk and the place erupted. They had Rob Gronkowski out there like waving the flag. I thought the building was gonna crumble. It was nuts.
I know the one you're talking about, and also I know we need to move on. Really, the one that I forgot, the arena that I forgot, and it's going to be very fitting when I say what it is. It's Ottawa.
Well, they did say non-Canadian, so it's fine.
Yeah.
We're getting rid of Ottawa. They don't count anymore. Okay, we'll leave those questions there when we come back. We've got more questions, your trade proposals, and a bunch of other stuff here on Locked On Canadiens. We've all been there, logging on early, waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% with their killer last-minute deals. We were just talking about games that we had gone to, and that Buffalo game we mentioned, we got those tickets on Game Time. It was an easy way for Scott, Laura, and I to compare tickets, look at seat views, make sure we were getting the best price and the best value for our seats. And with Game Time, we know that's the case. The price we pay is the price that we see. There's no hidden fees. And if you're worried about something like your plans changing, the Game Time guarantee has your back with cancellation protection and more. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, Laura, we are back, and we have a visiting friend coming to us to ask us a question. This is from Brian on Bluesky, from a Preds fan and a huge fan of Carrier. What do y'all think? Do you love him like I do? I'll answer very quickly on this one. Yeah, dude rules. First of all, very handsome. Second of all, way better than any of us thought we were getting for a player that, we traded a guy who, the front office had a lot of hope in, and it just didn't pan out in Montreal. Like, I think I speak for both of us, but I'll let Laura go next. Like, Alex Carrier rules. It's been a great experience.
I think the biggest thing with Alex Carrier, what he's done for this team, is that he has freed up defensemen that can play in their more ideal situations. I think that's one of the biggest things. He's been very physical in the playoffs. He's been very reliable. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's not flashy, except if you look at his handsome face, extremely, extremely handsome. I don't know if anybody was observing the social media coming out of the Suzuki and the Suzuki wedding. But there was this one point where all of the hockey players had thrown their shirts over something, and they were all shirtless. And I was like, why isn't there like a close-up of Alex Carrier? Anyway, that's a whole other tangent that we don't have to go on. As a defenseman, as visually appealing as he is, his job is to be a defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. I think he's so solid. I just love it. He's the kind of guy you win with, right? Like, he's not the superstar. We're going to hear Lane Hutson's name. We're going to hear Caden Gooley's name. We're probably going to hear Reinbacher's name when the Canadiens are contending. But he's going to be the kind of guy where it's like you need one of those on your team to win.
Yeah. No, he's a lot of fun. And I'll compare him to a guy who also played games in Montreal and Nashville, and Francis Bouillon. Like, he feels very Francis Bouillon adjacent, doesn't he? Like, very, very compact frame, defensively minded, skates pretty well, doesn't really get into a lot of trouble with the puck. Like, he feels very Francis Bouillon coded to me, which is, from a Canadiens fan of that era, one of the highest compliments you can pay a defenseman. Like, he was just very well liked in his time in Montreal. All right. We'll move on. Next one from Scott Thompson. What number do you see Mason McTavish wearing with the Habs in October? And yes, this is a legit question. I'll give you his current number. He wears 23 in Anaheim. We can use this as a chance to answer this question, but also talk about any potential thoughts on Mason McTavish in Montreal. Do you have a preference for the number for this player?
I mean, I want to focus more on the part of the yes, it's happening thing.
That's
the part of the
there's a
question
lot
I
of
want to
noise
focus
out there.
on.
Yeah, I'm not doing a rumor roundup on it right now, mostly because my hair's gross and I don't want to take off my hat. But like there's a lot of thoughts out there that he's as gettable now as he ever has been, and maybe Anaheim is feeling some pressure to move him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he solves a lot of problems for Montreal. It's just always been a matter of how much is this going to cost them, and
Yes.
can they justify it? Like, what are you willing to give up for a player like that?
None of the core.
Right. And then it becomes a point of, well, then why would Anaheim do it? Right? Like, I just have a hard time.
Because they're a younger team, still rebuilding. The Canadiens have to move into their next phase, and Anaheim seems to have like reset the clock this time, right?
Yeah.
Especially with the trades they've made and with
Yeah.
getting Joel Quenneville, which tried not to roll my eyes, but
You can roll your eyes.
Yeah. And so I think that there's something to be said for giving up a blue chip prospect. And again, nobody send me any letters, but like a Reinbacher or something like that, because he's somebody where it's not a unicorn. He's great at what he does, but he's not a unicorn. The unicorns are the Lane Hudsons, the Cale Makars of the world.
Yeah, I if those are the prices, the Canadiens are going to balk. They're not engaging in that. I think you're right that the Ducks are rebuilding. That they're still rebuilding. I don't know that they're all that much younger than Montreal. Like, you look at all the years that Montreal was picking high, Anaheim was right there. They were right along with them. They should be at a place where they're better. It's probably why they wanted a guy like Quenneville, as gross and annoying as it is. Like, it makes a lot of sense that they're also trying to take that next step. Montreal just already took theirs. So, like, I would love this player in Montreal. Like, it's an easy win for the Canadiens as long as the core isn't touched. Stop saying Matheson in a first round pick. It's not happening. They're not
moving
doing
the
that.
needle. It's not moving the needle for anyone. Not McTavish, not anyone.
No. But Scott, to answer the bulk of your question here, which was his number, 22 is open.
Yeah.
So 22. He wore 23. Can't wear that because Bob Gainey. So 22.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's fair.
I love how we twirled in the air for 30 minutes on that one and then finally answered his question. That seems very on par with what we do here on this show. All right.
Well, the more fun part was the speculative part.
Yeah, for sure. Like but I think this was a way to get. I think Scott knew what he was doing. This was a way to get us to talk this into happening, much like I did when I showed up last year and was like, "Hey, this Patty Laine guy, we should go get him." So maybe we'll just keep trying to talk that into existence. All right, let's hit this one from Brent before we head off. First of all, not a mailbag question. First off, thanks for your response to a previous mailbag question about good sources of information on hockey. I've subscribed to The Hockey Guy, Basu and Godin on YouTube, and Money Players is on my Amazon wish list. So you are going to be a well-read and listened to and viewed hockey fan. It's obviously a great time to be a Habs fan right now with our star players getting better every season, ridiculous, exciting young players just starting out, a high level of trust in the team's management, and behind the bench, the handsomest coach in the league. Hard agree. This is a lot of optimism around the not-too-distant future for this team. What other teams come to mind as teams whose fans have got it all good right now? I'm sure Florida fans aren't suffering, but where else are the vibes really good around the league? Or what teams are maybe on a similar timeline or trajectory to the Habs, maybe a couple of seasons away from being serious contenders? What are your immediate thoughts to that? Like, well, who else are you looking at and going, man, they're having a good time right now?
Well, before free agency, I was going to say Columbus. I'm not completely off that wagon though. I think they're one of them, and they're kind of low key. As much as I hate to say it, I do think that Ottawa fans um, have reason for optimism right now, unless their team is serious about that internal cap. That's going to turn it sour really fast. I also think that we are not looking at the San Jose Sharks enough as a team that should be really, really happy. And obviously the New York Islanders. I feel like we're getting, we're getting lost in this year's like New York Islanders getting the first pick, right? They've made a couple of good picks. They've made some moves which are a bit questionable, but
Yeah.
overall it's a good situation for them. And we kind of just completely forgot about the Sharks, even though they're 1 year away from getting like somebody like Macklin Celebrini. Like if I was a Sharks fan right now, I would be so excited for 2 years from now.
Yeah, the Sharks have to just be thrilled with where they're at. And also just like as they've been rebuilding, they're still in a time where there's like no pressure to
Yeah.
perform. They're kind of hoping to take a step forward over the next couple years, but like I don't really have any fears that they won't do that. Like
Yes. And
looking at what they've built, like it just seems like the natural progression. They're going to be a really big problem very quickly. Mike Grier's done a great job there.
yes, exactly. And if you just think about it, like 2.5 years ago, it looked hopeless. It
Yeah.
looked completely hopeless. It wasn't even a situation where it's like, oh, we could tank and get good picks. It was like this is going to be a perpetual cycle now. We're stuck in this mediocrity, and now it's completely different. So Sharks fans, Columbus fans, Ottawa fans, a little bit,
Yeah.
Florida fans, and I'm still gonna say, and I know we're running out of time. Colorado. I know it's been a couple of years since they've been in the cup and they've been not performing to expectations, and finally Dallas.
Yeah, I'll add Carolina to that list. I think Carolina finally got some parts that they really, really like. Nikolai Ehlers is a big get for them. They needed scoring, and to get a guy like that without having to give anything up except cap space, I worry for the Panthers' chances at a three-peat because that's the team in the East or in the league really that I think has the best chance of stopping them. All right, we'll leave that there. When we come back, we've got some of your trade proposals to go through. We'll do our best to be kind, but some of them are very funny, and we'll get into all that when we come back on Locked On Canadiens. All right, we've got a couple more questions here from Manny, so let's start there before we get into these trade proposals I keep talking about. With the Struble contract, do you think the second year of the contract was added to be able to turn him into a trade asset? What are your thoughts on that second year on Struble's deal?
I think we kind of covered it a little bit on the episode. Was that I think the reason for that second year was to make him a trade chip because it wasn't necessary, right? Like you said, you were surprised that there was that second year, and I also was surprised. And then I thought about it, and I was like, the method to that madness is that they want him to be a trade chip. So I know we're going to talk a little bit more next week about defensemen and who pushes who out of the lineup, and I do want to credit our good friend Jacques Face Punch for coming up with that because we're going to do we're going to spend a segment or maybe multiple segments on that. But I do think that with this, I don't think the writing's on the wall for any other defenseman. I think this is Jaden Struble's opportunity, and the Montreal Canadiens are either way they're going to have something that they can trade away that has value and is going to bring value.
Yeah. Yeah, it's look, to me, it's Struble or it's Matheson, like on that blue line. Struble makes it easier for the Canadians to move Matheson, not to say they will, but it makes it easier if you have a guy who can step in. I want to leave a little bit of the Matheson talk because that kind of bleeds into what Jack I Face Punch had asked us, and we're going to talk about that next week because there's a lot of nuance to that conversation. So we'll leave that one there. Last one here from Randy. In your opinions, it's going to have to just be your opinion on this one, Laura. What are the best seats in the Bell Center? I think we've talked about this enough, or a bunch, but it's always a good time to tell people, you're spending a lot of money when you go to those games. You want to make sure you do it right. So where do you recommend people sit at the Bell Center?
I would say lower bowl, 10 rows up, center ice. You don't want to be too close because you need to see the whole thing, but you want to be close enough that you feel that you're part of the action. I am there aren't very many seats in the Bell Center that I wouldn't want to sit behind. Like the TV gondola one is annoying because you can't really see the Jumbotron.
Yeah.
Sorry, the ones behind this, the TV gondola, you could be like the Molson X section or whatever they call it. Like that one's a really good time. Don't take kids there. And then, if you, I wouldn't pay for this, but if let's say somebody were to give you tickets to the Desjardins section, it's excellent because it's the first, it's the first upper bowl and there's free food and drink. I've had the opportunity to be invited there, I'm going to say, a couple of times, and I really loved it. Just like it was a really good time because you can go like in the back and there's like little bars and stuff. Just like, you don't have to pay for food. But if you are going to buy the tickets, they are quite expensive. The best value for money is lower bowl, but not right up front. That's a lot of money. 10 rows up is pretty good.
Yeah, I always say you should you should try to sit on the glass once in your life.
Yes,
because it is a different experience being that close. You see that you really feel the power of everything that happens in front of you. But yes, the better viewing experience is a little further back, so you can actually see everything. That's a key point to actually paying to go to a hockey game is you want to be able to watch it unfold instead of just seeing like chunks of like the stanchions, right? All the stanchions get in the way. You can't see anything. It's very annoying. All right.
One thing real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
You've obviously sat at the glass by saying that, right? Whose face got slammed in front of you?
I don't remember a face being slammed in front of me. I was right in the corner. It was my first ever game. I was on Long Island at Nassau Arena. It will always hold a special place in my heart. I love that place. We were right next to the penalty box. So I saw at the beginning of the third period, Mitch Fritz of the Islanders fight Georges Larac. And I was sitting next to the Islanders penalty box, and Mitch Fritz got cut on his eyebrow, and I'm just looking, he's bleeding all over the place. I'm like, this is awesome. Kyle Okposo's stick broke, and it like helicoptered into the stands behind us. Yeah. Like that's how close we were. Like a stick almost hit us. So yeah, it's fun to do once, but you don't need to do it all the time. It's not all that important.
So I got to see, this was back in the day, I got to see Alex Ovechkin paste PK Subban in my face.
That's really good. Man, he has a couple of, the one of Ovechkin's biggest hits was when he sent PK Subban, rear end over tea kettle at center ice. That was a fun rivalry. That we should have seen more of that.
He's done a couple. He's done a couple of those. Like it's entertaining.
Yeah. All right, let's do some trade proposals here. This is from Joe Dame. Signing Struble to 2 years worries me about the future of Xhekaj. I get the sense he's really not a Marty St. Louis kind of guy. With that said, in my opinion, the Canadiens need to get bigger and stronger, especially if Arbor is going to be a healthy scratch 30-plus games. So I want to put a couple trade ideas out there for you to review just for fun. Maybe you can build your own trade offers for these players, and we can see how you differ. Calgary gets Matheson. Montreal gets Anderson in a third or a second with retained money. And Columbus sends Matthew Olivier to Montreal in exchange for Tuck and Farrell. First of all, I want to mention Arbor Xhekaj really quick because I think a lot of people there's this idea that he's not going to play. And I want to take exception just to the, he's going to be scratched 30 times. He played 70 regular season games last year, and he played 3 of 5 playoff games. Yeah. So this isn't a spare part player. And this is a player that Marty does like. He just knows he needs to use him in certain situations right now. It's up to Arbor to round out his game to make that worthwhile for him. But to answer the question, I have no problem with the Canadiens adding more size, as long as that size is also skilled and not big for nothing. Mm-hmm. Be big and mean, like Jaden Struble already kind of is, like Arbor Xhekaj already is, right? Yeah. That's the kind of guy you should want to add, not size for size's sake.
Exactly. I think I'm not worried in the least about Arbor Xhekaj, but let's get back to that trade proposal. I don't think the Habs are getting enough in that.
In which one? There's Calgary for Matheson for Anderson in a third, and then there's Columbus gets Tuck and Farrell, and Montreal gets Matthew Olivier.
The last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was shocked to learn that Matthew Olivier was one of the greatest face punchers in the league this year and also scored 18 goals. I was shocked when I saw that. He had more goals than assists, I think.
Yes.
But I don't know if that's a flash in the pan, but I understand what you mean.
Because the thing is, I feel like with going for that pick, and again, I love Matthew Olivier, I really do. I think with going with that pick is that you're trying to get tougher on the heels of that playoff loss. And I don't think we should be making decisions like that. And I think that Farrell is probably not going to be on the Montreal Canadiens, but I think that he has promise on another team. I feel like he does have an NHL role. And the same thing with Tuck, right? And why don't you just keep Tuck?
Yeah, exactly. Tuck looks like
Tuck.
He might be a guy like that.
Yeah.
And maybe you wait I find Tyler Thorpe to be very interesting. Like the Canadiens used the contract spot on him. I know Arpon Basu had mentioned that. Like that's pretty interesting for them to do that. And I'm also very interested now because of hearing that said. Like it's exciting to think that a guy that big, the Canadiens are like, yeah, he might be an NHLer. We should get him under contract.
Yeah.
So I think there's enough size in the pipeline right now. Anyway, all right, we have 2 more questions we have to get to. One more trade proposal. This is from Taylor. I have a trade proposal that solidifies the second line as one of the best for generations. Please feel free to give me a little head tap if you like it, but don't give me the runaround. To Minnesota Wild, Montreal's 2026 first-round pick. To the Montreal Canadiens, goaltender Philip Gustafsson. Hear me out. We convert Gustafsson to a winger, and we put him on the second line, so it is Bolduc, Doc, and Gustafsson, or as the line will be known henceforth, Duck, Doc, Gus, or Duck, Duck, Goose, which I will point out that when I was asked last week about fun nicknames, that is one I made up, but I had Gooley moving from defense up, so it was Duck, Duck, Ghouls, so it was close, but this is better. And they add, sorry, it's summer, and I have no hockey to watch, so my mind wanders. What are your thoughts? I mean, would you like to just say some things about what our friend has sent us here?
I mean, I feel like this is what we're doing right now. It's summer and we miss our hockey. So that's why we do so many room roundups. I think it's really funny. Honestly, like if I owned a team, like let's say I was a billionaire, which I would never be because it's unethical. But if I were a billionaire and I like bought a hockey team, I would try and create a team based on nicknames. Like who would have the best nicknames, either playing with each other or just players who don't have lame nicknames or, interesting guys.
Yeah, yes, I really enjoy a good nickname for a line. All right, our last question is a life advice question, and it comes from our friend Kay, who asked, Ian and Laura, how do I keep hope alive in a time like this? Laura, I don't know if you have any sage wisdom for our pal Kay, but I'll let you start us off here.
Honestly, I think that the biggest thing is that you kind of have to think about how Cole Caulfield exists.
True.
That helps. Lane Hudson
exists.
Yes, Caden Gooley also exists.
We know the audience here. We have to know who we're talking to.
Josh Anderson exists.
Correct.
Nick
Suzuki.
That gives hope to a whole lot of people. So there's that. But on a more philosophical level, what I do think that I try to keep in mind is that whatever we're going through as a society, like history is always cyclical, so we will come out on the other side. It's just we don't know when. But I hope that it will happen in our lifetimes.
Yeah. I'll say this, and I only say this because it's something I heard within the last few weeks, and it's funny that Kay asked this question, and it's something it directly relates to almost a Martyism that I heard, which is that hope is a discipline, that we it's not something that you just feel, it's something that you have to be an active participant in, and that's not to say to bury your head in the sand and go everything's going to be fine, but it's to find different ways to get you through the day, right? To get you to make sure that you're okay at the end of every day. Like that's how I interpret it. I have a lot, like the reason I love Martyism so much is because I live in Martyisms, like in various pieces of advice that come from different areas, and hope as a discipline is the one that I've been stuck on as of late. So we'll leave you with that, Kay. I hope that helped. I hope that helped all of our listeners. I'm touched that you think we could have helped you in any meaningful way there. So and if not, just find cute pictures of Nick Suzuki and you'll be all right.
Yeah.
All right. Today we'll do our trivia here and we'll head out for the week. Last episode's question. Jakub Dobeš was a product of the Omaha Lancers of the USHL. In 2008-9, he was the top 2 scorers on the Omaha Lancers were Habs draft picks. Who were they? Laura, do you know the answer to this one?
I'm going to guess one of them was Danny Cristo.
Correct. He had 58 points in 50 games.
Nice. Was the other one Louis Leblanc?
It was Louis Leblanc, 78 points in 60 games. Yes, both of those players led that team in scoring. However, Louis Leblanc had not been drafted yet by the Canadiens. He was drafted at the end of that season. However, Danny Cristo was Canadiens property at that point. Also getting it right was Super Rain. Jason Libb got Louis Leblanc, so I'm going to throw his name in there. Good Sport, Jeff Harpel, and Manny are our correct answers there. So thank you for playing. Today's question, as you are listening to this on Friday, August 1st, this former Habs goalie, who only played 1 game with Montreal, is celebrating his birthday today. Whose birthday is it today? Who was a former Montreal Canadian? If you have the answer, put it in the comments down below. Send it to us any way you know how, and we'll give you a shout out on the next episode of the show. And that is going to do it for us today and this week on Locked On Canadiens. Thank you so much for tuning in and for subscribing wherever you get your podcast. Doing that supports us here on the show and ensures you don't miss an episode. For your second listen, head over to Locked On NHL. There's no offseason. They're giving you the daily league-wide news that matters most with the local coverage you love from Locked On. Subscribe to Locked On NHL wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us wherever we're posting things at Locked On Canadiens on Bluesky, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me at Maybe It's Ian. You can find Laura at The Actor Stick. Enjoy your weekend, guys. We will see you guys on Monday.